You're listening to Science for Soundness, the podcast. This is not your usual podcast. This is a journey, and as with any journey, I don't know yet where this one is going. If anything, I'm hoping to inspire you to take the first step, even if it's into the unknown, even if you don't know where you're going and you do it scared. Hi, I'm Steffi. I'm an equine scientist and equine therapist. I've made it my mission to support horse owners on their individual journey of horse-human connection and personal growth. I want you to know that I'm with you on this one. Think of me as a friendly voice, a reminder to stay the course, to keep going, keep listening to yourself and to your horse, even when the going gets tough. Let's do this. Hello, it's been a minute, and I really wanted to talk to you about something today that has lately been on my mind a lot. I've recently gone through a little bit of a rough patch, if you want to say so, including muddy waters, unclear sight, a lack of direction, and everything else that comes with it. And by the end, I sat there thinking, who the hell am I? And what in God's name am I doing here? Whatever or whoever God is for you or whatever you believe in. But I do believe that we actually all hit those rough spots. And sometimes it is quite hard to see clearly the path that lies ahead because everything and nothing goes, right? I'm not sharing this to get your words of sympathy, but to simply share with you that I am a human being just like you. And I get the feeling that we all go through those stages. So I thought I'm going to try and analyze a few of the aspects with you today. And I hope that you're in. So today's episode is called Permission to Be Yourself. And I think this topic is huge. We're not going to go into every detail, but just have a little glimpse at what this could mean and what I think I've come to realize it means for me. Maybe you know the feeling of when you're in the middle of a storm. I actually feel like I'm in the middle of a storm right now. And instead of referring to my old tactics, which would be running away from the storm, I'm actually now standing in the middle, in the storm. I'm facing it forward and I'm sitting with it. And let me tell you, it's bloody uncomfortable. And it feels like I have no direction. Everything around me is going wild. But at the same time, for the first time since ever, I think, I feel like I'm actually becoming more and more myself. And I feel like I won't be silent again, which is a new and unexpected, but also exciting feeling. So I think we're all kind of alike and yet we're very different. And that difference is where I feel we often lose ourselves. So in an attempt to conform to everything that needs conforming to, we adhere to other people's rules and ideas and even ideals, and we do stuff. And even if we don't agree with it, we kind of run with it. And at some stage, it all becomes this big old blur. And friend, what happens when your sight becomes blurry? You find yourself a specialist who can help clear that up for you. You get yourself some glasses or contact lenses, but truly, what first needs to happen beneath all of that is clarity, and that comes from within. And I've fallen victim to thought patterns that told me that I need this type of equipment for my horse, or this type of method in order to get XYZ done, this type of approach, or even husbandry method in order to get things right, whatever right means, right? But let me tell you, all that did was create more rules that I needed to adhere to that were outside of myself. You know what I find really hard? It is to lay out my life and the way that I live it according to other people, according to what's outside of me, because truth be told, we'll never get that right. So many people that speak to me about their stories with their horses or even without their horses, they all have this common theme somewhere beneath everything. And that theme is that they are crushed by a system that gives them the feeling of being wrong. being wrong about themselves, being wrong about everything related to the horses, being wrong about life and the way that they live it, just being wrong, full stop. And honestly, how bloody sad is that? I mean, can we please just try and be kind and compassionate and accepting towards each other, towards ourselves even? Can we please at least try to give ourselves some grace here? The same kind of compassion and kindness and grace that we give our horses or even other people. You're not flawed. I'm not flawed. The system's flawed. And it is hard to gain perspective when you're slap bang in the middle of it. I've come to the realization that I have overstepped my own boundaries multiple times. I have abandoned myself. I have faced a storm multiple times, and I've chosen to run from it in the past or even get swept away by it. Why did I do that? Because I was overwhelmed, because I was scared, because I didn't want to disappoint. But I've come to realize that this process of being in the storm is not a matter of if you face it. It's a matter of when and especially how you face it. This whole thing, this life, it's a process. We talk about this a lot in this podcast, but honestly, the one thing that I've realized for myself is the fact that everything is a constant process. There is no real end game here, because once you get there, you will always want to look beyond that limit and reach further. And that's good. That is great. And it should be the way, because that way you can grow and expand in different directions and learn and gather new experiences. So with the realization that everything is a constant process, that is in a constant shift, we can also kiss goodbye those ideas of getting on a linear path to whatever it is. And with that realization, also, hopefully, comes a lot of peace and stillness, contentment even, and compassion towards yourself, because it isn't about if you shift, it's the how. And you are the only person able to dictate that. Are you going to listen to that flawed system and play by those rules, break your horse if that is what needs to be done, or are you willing to go against the grain, but live and stand up for what you believe in? No moment is static. It's all a process. So you're either cool with it, or you're constantly trying to go against it and experience friction in your life. I trust that if you're listening in this episode so far, you're the kind of person who stands up for what they believe in. And I appreciate you for it so very much. So how about we look at what's in front of us and start working with that? I want to tell you a little story. A story of actually only a few months ago, when I felt a lack of direction and motivation hitting me. I felt that anything I did was pointless. And yes, I know that sounds ridiculous. And I certainly didn't know who I was and where I wanted to go with life. And I actually always thought I had everything kind of planned out. Not planned out in a linear kind of way, but I guess I always knew where I was headed. But all of a sudden, I couldn't see that anymore. I couldn't find my north. I couldn't find the direction that I was actually always so clear about. And like I said, I know that sounds ridiculous, but it is the truth. It's my truth. And we all go through those phases. So I want to just share this with you so that you maybe can be honest about it too with yourself. You don't have to speak on a podcast like I am right now, but let's just be honest about it. Because when you're in the thick of it, no matter how big or small, you do not see clearly what's right in front of you because you cannot find direction. So back to my little story. I set myself a little challenge, and this challenge was to show up every day and find out who I was. I wanted to find myself again. I wanted to get back that clarity and direction. I had no idea how I was going to get there. So I made a promise to myself, and I promised myself to show up, find my voice, speak my truth, keep working on that until I felt the direction coming in. And I actually made it publicly to hold myself accountable, which was important because there's always a way to flake out of it otherwise. And I held myself accountable and shared one piece of advice, of insight, a thought, or anything and everything in between to my Instagram account every single day since Christmas last year, which is 2022. And do you want to know what happened? I gained more clarity on the way than I could ever imagine. I gained strength on that way. I held myself accountable. I received motivating feedback from all corners of the world, and it enabled me to connect with so many of you beautiful souls. It gave me the power to speak on this podcast, but before that, it also gave me the power and the strength to show up on another podcast that I do with some friends that I've actually made through this journey, opportunities that arose from this journey, from holding myself accountable, from speaking my truth, and the knowledge that came along this way, areas that I want to look into more detailed after having exciting discussions with you, and knowing that I'm already connecting with so many of you. It has truly been so incredible. And this is only just the beginning. But I showed up for myself each day and I held myself accountable to do that. I think that made all the difference. I didn't do it to fit in. I didn't do it to impress. I think some people actually were pretty unimpressed by my truth. I didn't do it to fulfill anyone's needs or wishes. I did it for myself. Probably for the first ever time in my life, I'm not running from the storm. I'm running with it. I allow it to energize me and move me. But also, I know where I am. I know who I am. And I know who I can become. And I only know this through this process because I'm right there in it. You know, sometimes during those conversations with you, I wonder, when was the time when you decided that you needed to look outside of yourself for all of the answers, for the path, for the solution, for the method, for the journey? When did you decide that you were wrong? Because after all, it's your journey. Like, this is my journey. And the thing is, nobody can tell you where to go and what to do. I cannot tell you to do X, Y, Z and promise you that this will be 100% the right thing to do, the perfect thing for you, the right way to go, the thing that solves every problem for you, this one true thing. I just want to encourage you to look inward. And I know it might be scary at first, but we have touched on intuition and how this can help us navigate the pressure. And yes, it is absolutely okay and even right to look outside for guidance, to gather information and gain wisdom by learning. We all need to learn, but please allow yourself to draw your wisdom from within. And if you don't know who the hell you are, like I was a few months ago, which is kind of, what I'm still going through actually, find out who that person is, what they like, what they dislike, and especially what lights them up. We don't need a society made from 100% the same people with the exact same thoughts and methods. We don't need everyone to do exactly the same thing at exactly the same time and point in their lives. Just imagine how dull that would be. How bland life would become because everything and everyone is the same. Instead, here's what I think. We need questions. We need variety. We need different thoughts and angles. Because if we only allow ourselves to truly be who we are, then things will not only feel but also become easier. They'll be lighter. Honestly, I've been there. I tried to be the person, the horsewoman, the owner, the trainer, but in the end, I realized that I have to come back to myself. Of course, taking the things that I've learned into account. But at the core of it, what you hear right now, this is me, my point of view, my perspective, and that is unique to me. Same as yours is unique to you. And yes, we might agree on some things and we will disagree on others, but that is perfectly right. So let's look at it from a practical viewpoint, because this kind of is a horse podcast as well. So let's just drop in some horse content as well, because maybe you're here for that too. You might wonder, how does this relate to horses at all? And honestly, the answer should be everything. Everything always relates to horses, because once you start looking at yourself and you discover yourself and you find and meet yourself, you will always be able to meet your horse on a different level. You'll be always reflected back the person that you are. So this could transpire into your horse-human connection by means of you not following a certain method because that method doesn't sit right with you. This attitude or belief or the way you discover yourself, whatever it is, this journey may allow you to discover new paths, which ultimately allow you to create a safer and more positive interaction with your horse, allowing you both to dive deeper into whatever area it is that excites you both, and maybe even inspiring other people to follow different paths that are similar to yours, or even teach them. It might lead to more health and welfare and overall well-being, because the truth is, you never know until you try and go for it. It's so easy to stay with the system, but once you see how your horse is reflecting back to you, the little no's that mean the world to them, you will not go back. You saying no to a few things might actually propel you forward in so many ways that you cannot even imagine just now. Okay, now let's imagine the opposite. You saying yes to everything that comes your way. Training method, training tools, whatever it is, you go for it. Firstly, this also means less evolution in the equine world. I just want to say that here, but let's stick with the same example for this purpose. You saying yes to a certain training method may mean that your horse is broken by force and might be interacting with you from a space of learned helplessness or fawn or even fear, whilst you receive praise for adhering to said method and for how well behaved your horse is. And yeah, you might enjoy the latter, but at what cost? Is it truly worth it to say yes to yourself and to your ego, even if it means in reality you say no to your horse and your horse's well-being over and over again? And okay, I realize this may also raise more questions than give you any answers, but you know what? I think that's good. I think that's great, in fact, because we need more questions. Another example is when people, such as myself, have more than one horses and we try to compare them all to each other. We have maybe one favorite or the first horse that we've ever had and compare them to the others. That's not great. Your horse should also have the permission to be themselves rather than a projection or expectation of yours. We could probably spin this around for hours, but I'm kind of hoping that you get what I'm saying. I hope anyway. We should ask ourselves way more often what we're saying yes to, when in reality, things should be a no instead. So, getting back to those muddy waters. If in doubt, if unsure and unclear where or what or even who you are, I believe we all need to learn how to tune into ourselves. Try and create some space for yourself. Space to breathe and be able to at least get that pretty head of yours above the water. That's all you need in order to be able to breathe and see a little bit more clearly, my friend. And let me just also tell you that no one has it all figured out. because there is no linear path to anything. There is no one solution. No one knows exactly where to go and what to do in order to get there. Everyone's kind of just figuring things out. And certainly, no one can do that for you, because something may always not quite sit right with you. It's from the outside then, not from within. And we want to look within. I feel so honored, honestly, to have all these conversations with you and being asked those questions. And I always say that I cannot give you the answer, and I can just offer perspective and tell you that you have the permission to be yourself, which, by the way, like I mentioned, is already today's title and brought this whole topic about. I love how the work we do ourselves has the possibility to transpire into every single one of our relationships, but especially the one with ourselves and the one with our horses or animals. To sum this up, if the waters get muddy, try to be grounded within yourself. Try to fall back on just one small thing you know to be true, and then take it from there. It may be something as obvious as you not wanting to hurt your horse in order to achieve anything for your ego. And I know that might sound so obvious, but to some people it might not be. And you know what? Knowing that as a starting point, that's great, because that way you know where you don't want to go. We love ourselves some good boundaries here, okay? And I always imagine myself to be in this little bumper car. If I bump into one side or method or trainer or view and I decide that's not for me, then I at least know that I don't want to go there again. We're all kind of bumping along, and with this image in mind, it is so hard to take things too seriously. We should laugh about stuff more often. Obviously not if it involves pain, but if we can, let's not take ourselves too seriously. We're all kind of bumping along, and that is something we should bear in mind. Trust that you have it within you. I know that sounds super cheesy, but beneath all of those layers is the you that wants to come out. The you that is done hiding. I, for my part, I'm so over hiding. I'm done hiding. I'm done saying only the right things. I'm done compromising on my truth. And if anything, the one thing that I want you to know and understand and integrate is that nobody outside of yourself can give you the permission that you seek. You have and always will have the permission to be yourself. The only person who can give or take that away is you. Friends, that's it for today. I would absolutely love for you to head over to my Instagram and connect. Let me know what you think on this topic and episode. And in the meantime, lean into those muddy waters, as turbulent as they may be, and learn to lean into the storm whilst also feeling rooted and being rooted and grounded in yourself. Get that head above the water and take a deep breath, because you got this. One baby step at a time, and I'm right there with you. Hi friend, I hope you found something in this episode that resonated with you. I'm beyond grateful that you hung out with me today for a little while, and I do hope that you come along for the ride. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, and if you feel like it, leave a review. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. If you have any questions or would like me to talk about a certain topic, check the show notes for ways to get in touch. I can't wait for next time. You got this.